Hey guys, Fatty here. So last time we had an interview with Rujinx, one of the tournament champions for the BDO Masters tournament, on how to basically the idea of how to learn your class, essentially, right? But today we're gonna have something more practical. I'm gonna be providing you with a template, and it's gonna be in the description down below. How I personally do my own labbing or learning a class, basically. So that's how I learned Wukong when it first came out. It's how I learned Seraph when it first came out, and it's how I learn a new class when I delve into it and I want to start maybe like a new tag or something. So today, as an example, I made a Mystic. Go ahead and pretend like I'm going to be doing Mystic Awakening, for example. And this is going to be the template. This is the one that we're going to be using. So just general rules in PvP, for example, is that if you are new to BDO especially, or you're trying to brush up on the basics, Super Armor or SA is basically you cannot be CC'd, but you can get hit with DOT still, damage over time, and you can be grabbed. Whereas like a frontal guard is a 180-degree cone in front of you, is basically a block. You cannot be hit with a dot if it hits your frontal guard instead, but if you get hit from anywhere besides that 180-degree cone in front of you, you can be CC'd and you can't be hit with everything else. Iframe or invincibility frame is basically just you cannot be hit by anything at all. Before we delve into it, let's go ahead and kind of like make sense of the combo system in BDO first for the people that are new to the game. So in BDO, there is a point cap of 2 before somebody gets CC immune, so you can't just like perma CC somebody unless you get really lucky with like RNG, and that's something more advanced that we're not going to tackle right now. So for example, knockdowns, they last for about 4 seconds. It's a 4-second CC. It adds 0.7 points of CC. And you have your stiffen, for example, which is a 1-second CC, which is also 0.7 points of CC. So let's say that you get into you catch somebody with a stiffen. That means you know that they're going to be CC'd for 1 second. You know that you have to follow that up with a knockdown right away, otherwise they're going to be able to move again very soon. So you're going to hit them with a knockdown, which extends that CC basically, and now you're at 0.7 plus 0.7, which is 1.4, which is safe to say the next CC that you do, which let's say like you do another like KD or something, that's going to be 2.1 already in terms of points. So you're over the 2-point CC limit. That means that like after that third CC that you put, they are going to be immune to CC for a certain amount of time, which means that you probably need to disengage, right? How I usually do when I first start a class is I just simply press K, go into the skills, right? And then the skill filter right here up top. What you're going to do is you're going to open that up, and right away we're going to start with our protected stuff. So if you click, for example, just in this right here, if you're using both your main hand and your awakening, you're going to be doing it for both. If you're using just a succession class, chances are you're going to be using main hand. If you're doing like an ascension class, chances are you're probably going to be doing a little bit of both, but mostly on your main hand. If we put into invincible here, which is iframe, we're not seeing anything right now, so we're going to go ahead and skip that. And then we go into super armor, and all of a sudden we see all of these super armor skills. So what we're going to do here, just as an example, you're going to be marking down all of these basically, right? But just for the sake of not making the video super long, we're going to go ahead and use this as an example here. So screenshot that. We're going to screenshot the whole thing basically, right? And we're going to put it in the super armor category here in our template, right? You can just go ahead and adjust that so it's not too big. Make that a little bit smaller. Depends on like how good your eyes are, how far you can kind of see into that one. But let's say like, let's put that for example. We're going to be doing that for all the super armor skills, and we're going to be doing that for all the forward guard skills as well. And then eventually we're going to go into the protected CC. Super armor, we're going to look at everything. And then eventually, after we're done with the super armors, we're going to go ahead and look at the forward guard skills as well. Let's say if you're mainly focused on awakening, you still kind of want to do main hand as well, because chances are, let's say like for Mystic, for example, if I click invincible here, that means that my flash step is iframe during the skill. Your iframe here, you're going to be using this even when you're in awakening anyway, so you can go ahead and jot that down for your movement skill, for example. After you're done with doing the super armor and the forward guard ones, for example, and you're going to go ahead and move on to, let's say you kind of want to know what to catch people with, right? So you want to kind of look at like bounds, your stuns, your stiffens, right? Your knockdowns. So you're gonna go ahead and press knockdown. Now this one's a little bit important because just because this is KD doesn't mean that they are gonna knock down people in PvP. Some of these CCs are PvE specific only. So let's say like let's go over to this one right here, spiral torpedo knockdown, and you can see knockdown on hits PvE only. That means that we're not going to be trying to knock down somebody in PvP using this, for example. For hurricane sweep, we know for a fact that it does say knockdown on jump spin kick hits, which is nullified during cooldown. It's a 6-second cooldown. This means that this will actually work in PvP, for example. And then your core skills here, you can make your spiral torpedo into a KD on hit, which means it doesn't say PvE only anymore. So if you actually choose this over like tidal burst, for example, then this will now turn from a PvE only skill to also a PvP knockdown as well, which is useful to have. We're gonna go ahead and put those things under our protected CCs as well. We're not gonna go ahead and put stuff in there that's PvE only because we're using this mostly for PvP. You can do it for PvE as well when you're trying to learn something with the PvE class, but usually there's people that like put combos in and really min-max the PvE stuff anyway, and realistically there's really only one specific way that's like the best in slot. Like this is definitely the combo that you should be doing in PvE type thing anyway, so you can just go ahead and learn that from all the discourse. But if you want to learn the class the same way that Rujinx kind of like does and other PvPers do, then this is what we're going to be doing. So we're going to put everything that's a protected CC basically here, and the reason why we kind of want to put it there is so that we know when we look at it, like, okay, this is what the skill looks like, and this is the amount of damage it does as well. So, which is important. It's gonna play into how we do combos later, which is basically when you combo somebody, your combo basically is just trying to do as much damage to the person in the time frame or in the window that they are CC'd. That's essentially what you're trying to achieve in PvP. Sometimes something might deal less damage, but the animation for it is very fast, so at times it might be worth putting that into your combo, right? So what I like to do is, let's say this one right here, W plus RMB, which is one of my super armor skills, right? So let's say like I have a super armor skill like that. I'm gonna go ahead and highlight this, and I'm gonna go Alt Control, and let's say like 6, so it's marked there under super armor, right? So now at least, like, even if I'm not scrolling down into the template, I can see on the left side here under super armor, I know that WRMB is one of my super armor skills. If I go into protected CC, for example, and I say like, okay, like let's say like let's do the jump spin kick hits, right? It's F and hold F. I'm gonna go ahead and mark that as well. Alt Control 6. And under the protected CCs, I know for a fact now that like that's going to be one of my protected CCs in PvP. I don't have to, if this kind of like template goes really extra long, at the very least you could just look on the side like, oh, by the way, yeah, that's one of my protected CCs. Okay, let me just make sure that I don't forget that, and then you can start putting them down here in your combos as well. And then as for protective movement, generally you want to make sure that you are using either iframe only or super armor with your protected movement. Some classes like wizards don't necessarily have a protected movement rotation. Classes like Wukong, for example, have basically perma protective movement, right? Which doesn't make you immune from damage, but it does make it so once you rotate all that stuff, you're not gonna be CC'd, basically. So it's really hard for people to catch you unless they, catch you when you mess up your combo, your movement, your protective movement, your rotations, or they grab you when you're trying to stand still, doing like a super armor move so you don't get CC'd by a regular CC besides grabs, right? Let's use this as an example then. Let's do flash steps, right? Let's do flash steps. Let's take a screenshot of flash steps here, and let's go ahead and paste that there. So it's just going to be or S plus shift. Let's just as an example, right? So let's do that. It's not just going to be this one, right? Because if you're trying to rotate your protective movement, it doesn't necessarily have to be a skill that is moving. It is going to be a risk that you might get grabbed. But if you know that they're just using AoEs anyway, trying to catch you with like a stray CC or something, then that's when you can kind of afford it, right? So let's say, like, for example, Crouching Wolf, which is like just spacebar during certain skills, right? You know for a fact that it is going to be super armor. And by the way, like, I don't play Mystic at all, so I'm figuring this out as I go. So at least you know that this is how the process kind of looks like, right? So I know for a fact that it's going to be super armor, and let's say I use a certain skill, right? I use that, right? And then I press spacebar right there, and then all of a sudden you see I'm still in super armor, right? So that means that I could insert that as while my other movement skills are on cooldown, so that I'm still protected while I'm in the middle of waiting for my other protective movement cooldowns, right? So let's say like WF right there, and then spacebar, then you know, that's essentially how you figure out how your rotation should kind of like look like, right? So let's say Rising Dragon, which is your shift Q, WF right here, your Spiral Torpedo is also going to be a super armor as well. So we know that if we take this, it's going to be a knockdown. We can see that it's also movement. So what that means, Spiral Torpedo, is that now we can kind of add this to part of our protective movement as well, because it counts as protective movement because it travels a certain distance and it's protected. Really, that's just really just all there is to it, right? So WF, let's mark that. And at the same time, we know for a fact that if we take that core skill, it's also going to be a catch or an engage. So we can also put this in here, right? So let's say let's put that in there as part of the catch or engage category. So that means that let's say we're fighting somebody that's over there and we're trying to get to them. So we know for a fact that we don't want to use RWF right away because it's not gonna, it's not gonna reach somebody who's like over there, right? So our goal then is to try to use a movement skill and then use that as our engage. So let's say like, let's do really simple, like shift W, right? So let's say like dash, and then boom. And we hit somebody that's, let's say they're not protected. Now they're CC'd, now they're KD'd, and then we can start our combos there. So let's say that like we miss, for example, and we don't actually get the hit in, then that's when you start to figure out like, okay, so what's going to be my disengage skill, right? Because it's you're basically fishing for CC in PvP. That's essentially how we approach that. Same thing for forward guard. Forward guard, you don't really you generally do not want to use forward guard on skills or unprotected skills unless it's a 1v1 or you know that you're not going to be hit by a stray CC, aka like in a node war or something, or a 1vx scenario, and you know that you can get away with it. Let's say like there's a KD skill that you have that does a lot of damage, or a skill that does a lot of damage, period, and it's a 1v1. So you know you're not going to get hit with a stray CC and you already have them CC'd. Then you want to add that in as well, right? So that's going to be one of your things that you use there. So under Node War combos, the only real things that you really want to add here for Node War combos is basically your bomb rotation. So the very basic way of approaching Node War combos is essentially you're going in, you're dumping your damage, protected damage, because you don't want to get CC'd in the middle of it. And then after you're done, you need to make sure that you use your protective movement, aka your disengages, right? As well, that should be off cooldown after you do a full dump of your protected damage on the spot, and then you just like you dip out essentially, right? So that's how you approach the Node War aspect of it. So we covered so far protected skills with super armors and forward guards, and how you view protected CCs and how you view protected movement as well. And then PvP combos. So generally for PvP combos, generally you want your combo to kind of look like you want the movement that we showed earlier to try to catch them, and then you need to use that 1cc to catch them, whether it's a KD or whether that's you get a grab on them, or whether that's a stiffen. Just know that when you stiffen somebody, it's not a CC that lasts very long, so you need to follow it up with either like a really quick skill with a really quick animation into a KD, or just KD them right away anyway, or grab them, right? And then you need to make sure that you're also using your pre-buff skill, aka like let's say your attack speed skills, your AP skills, or you have like your add-ons on it, and we'll tackle add-ons in a little little bit after that as well. And then you need to insert as much damage as you can in the middle of that. And then your second CC. And then after your second CC, let's say like it's another KD, for example. They're down for like 4 seconds, and basically after your next CC, your last CC, you need to make sure that you are doing your ender, which is the tail end of your combo. And if they die in that time, then well, you know, it's GG. But if they don't, then you need to figure out your disengages as well, which is usually going to be, let's say like your shift W or something like that. If you're like playing Wukong, for example, like you're doing like a shift Q to try to get away, or you know, just the shift E or something. I know a lot of people's like questions are going to be as well for your add-ons. It's like, so how do I approach add-ons necessarily? So for your engages, you do want to have add-ons that give you, this is my PvE, but like you want to give add-ons that, let's say, give attack speed specifically, right? Because again, attack speed, the logic behind that is that you want attack speed or cast speed so you can get out the rest of your combo faster, right? And if you have like a pre-buff on one of your skills, let's say like one of the passives in your skills gives like let's say it gives like AP, for example, or like this one plus 36 evasion. That way when you're trying to fight somebody, you have more evasion if you're an evasion class, more DR if you're a DR class. And let's say like this one right here, Spiral Torpedo, gives like all AP plus 28 for 10 seconds. That means you're going into that fight with more damage, more attack speed to output more damage, increasing your DPS. And that's generally how you want to look at add-ons in general. In the middle of all that, you know that you're KDing somebody, for example. So you might want to add some more like down attack damage, right? If you want to extend CCs, you might want to add something like a float or something, or down smash rather. And for the tail end of your attacks, or let's say like your disengage, for example, let's say you're disengaging somebody. What you want to do there is you want to get something that decreases movement speed and decreases attack speed. Because if they are debuffed with movement speed and attack speed, that means they are you're less susceptible into getting kind of like a counterattack, essentially, right? So to TLDR, initial part of your combo is something that facilitates your DPS, attack speed, damage reduction, making sure that you're using skills that increase your AP. And then in the middle of it is like all the extra stuff. Let's say like your second part of your catch is or first part of your catch is a knockdown, so you want your next skill to have a like a down attack damage or something like that, so you deal more damage when you are attacking somebody when they're on the ground, right? So basically multipliers is what you want in the middle there. And then at the tail end of your combo, which is your disengage, you want to hit them with something that decreases their movement speed or attack speed. That way if they're still alive at that point in time, then you know they have less chances of being able to counterattack you at that point. Generally, that's how you want to approach like the add-ons. And after all of that, this is very, very basic. If you guys want something that is more detailed, more advanced, then, you know, just like put it down in the comment section below, and we're going to go ahead and put that in our to-do list for the next videos. Generally, that is the template that I personally follow when I'm learning a new class, and hopefully that helps. And if you have any questions, ask it in the comments below or stop by on stream, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.